Adelphia Communications presents Local Talk right here in Adelphia land in the Southland. Joining me on today's show are Sherry Annis, and she is a media public affairs consultant. Good to have you, Sherry.
Thanks, Bill.
Sarah Amir, community activist. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Joe Hicks, executive director of the Center for the Study of Popular Culture. Good to have you, Joseph. And Phil Schuman, broadcast journalist. Good to have you, Phil.
Thanks.
And our first guest is Michael Feinstein, the mayor of the great city of Santa Monica. Good to have you, Mayor.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
You know, we've got to congratulate you. You're now on the Southern California Association of Governments Growth Visionary Committee. That's been known as SCAG, which are all these governments in Southern California. They get things regionally, try to deal with us as a region. What's the Growth Visionary Committee about?
What this is about, Bill, we've got the traffic, the congestion, job housing imbalance. People can't afford to live near where they work. Southern California has every city doing for itself, no regional planning, transportation lines that push the wrong kind of growth, and we're expected to take another 6 million people in the next 20-something years. So what do we do about it? This is really the first comprehensive effort at regional planning that's bringing all the governments together, all the municipalities, the counties. We're going to have a 3-year process, bottom up, city by city, trying to do a land use master plan for the region so that the growth that we take works, increases the quality of life, rather than just makes it worse.
Good. Does that mean we're going to get some decent transportation rather than the gridlock we now have?
Not only will we get the good transportation, but it'll fit with the land use patterns that we want. So Riverside County, where they have all this cheap housing, they don't have any jobs. Well, how do we fix the transportation system so that we link that together at the same time? So yeah, it has to all fit together, else it doesn't work.
How about affordable housing? You know, everybody's running everywhere because they can't afford to live where they work, because that's the big problem, you know, affordable housing. Are you going to get some more density in housing?
One of the things that we're going to try and do with this committee is seek legislation from the state legislature to implement the ideas. And one of the things we'll have to do for affordable housing is to be able to incentivize when your city's housing element gets certified by the state, ways to incentivize green, affordable housing in every sort of community, deed-restricting the housing, awarding water efficiency, energy efficiency, the whole package together. It has to happen.
Well, it sounds good to me. Panel.
Well, you talked about land use master plan, and you come up with this great, and I know with your leadership, we're going to have a great sustainable master plan. But how are you going to make sure that it's implemented? You talked about legislation. If the legislators don't come up with something, then the plan is useless, right?
Well, one of the positive things has been Alan Lowenthal, who heads up the Assembly Housing Committee, has now assigned a liaison to this committee itself. Sheila Kuehl, our state senator from this district, has also assigned a liaison. The governor's Office of Planning and Research as well. So we're getting all the minds together all at once. One of the ideas I'm proposing is to allow a city to declare a redevelopment zone if its housing element on a point system does the green, affordable, you know, their plan actually hits all the bases that we need so that growth works in Southern California, and give them then the financial ability to make that sort of growth happen in the right way.
I have a question about your regulatory stance. Obviously in Santa Monica, I've followed as a Santa Monica resident that you're very strong into basically being very specific about what businesses can and cannot do, putting a lot of what I could consider regulatory burdens on them. My question is this a voluntary measure for states? Wouldn't some cities be worried about you tying their hands?
Sure, no, good question. And what we're trying to do is do this in a bottom-up manner. Right now, when the state tells you how much housing you have to build in your community, it's a really arbitrary formula. It doesn't fit the capacity community by community. We're trying to go city by city and say, how much infill can you handle given how you're set up? Where do we want to see it happen? And then try and provide some incentives to do it. So we can't just have the demographers and the developers say how growth is supposed to happen in California. It has to be bottom up, it has to fit. But we have to also remember that 60% of the growth that we're going to have is going to come from births within this region, and it's going to be inevitable. So better to have it in the compact, new, urban, really eco-city sort of model rather than more and more Fresnos.
So ultimately, will be the legislature deciding a statewide law, and you're just hoping to get input from the cities?
Yeah, yeah.
Come on, what's wrong with Fresno? Let me, you know, I hear you saying things like green, affordable, you know, planning and that kind of thing. And when I hear, you know, people talking about a master plan for the state of California, I'm hearing also increased regulation. I'm also hearing a kind of bureaucracy and red tape and hand tying and a kind of future that I think just drives a lot of people to distraction. The question is, for me, is in terms of your participation, others on this grouping that's doing all this master planning, quote unquote, what kind of new thinking is really going on here? Because if we just got some political agendas being brought to the plate here, and not people really willing to clear the slate and saying, what do we really do here? Because you certainly represent a certain political viewpoint. I'm sure there are other political viewpoints. Are we simply listening to a set of political agendas, or we have some fresh thinking going on here?
I've been really pleasantly surprised. On my committee, there's Republicans, Democrats, Greens, Libertarians, and how much common ground we've been finding from people come from very different cities, Rolling Hills Estates to Santa Monica, you know, to Riverside, I mean, just all over the place. So, yeah, I think things have gotten bad enough in this region for so long, and like Caltrans admits, we can't build our way out with more freeways. Everybody's kind of getting, it doesn't work from the past. So, yeah, I have some hope. I actually do.
Phil?
What has SCAG been doing for the past 18 years if this isn't the role that they have already without creating this new committee, which sounds like it has a lot of admirable goals, although maybe somewhat idealistic?
No, I agree with you. Both the failure to plan regionally and SCAG itself hasn't been as focused. This is as focused as it has been, and it builds on the original mission of transportation planning, but of course transportation, as Bill said before, relates to everything else.
So what's an example of some area that you have in common with, say, Riverside County?
Congestion, pollution, job housing imbalance, difficulty to achieve a quality of life in this abundant, rich state.
And so you'd agree that you have the same definition of what the problems are, but it would seem that the solutions would be
look at
maybe
here in the West Side.
What you might want to do might not be what they want to do.
Right.
You've noticed here in the last 10 years how now it's impossible to, the traffic comes this way to the West Side where it used to go down in the morning because we have so many jobs here. Riverside, where all the housing is, they don't have any jobs. So it's two sides of the same problem. Where are the incentives, where are the plans to make sure the jobs and the housing go in the right places so that it is balanced, so we don't have to drive 30 or 40 miles to work and just suffocate ourselves?
But you're a Green. What is a Green? You're the mayor of the town, and you also want to say, Sarah, that there's a gig coming up at UCLA where the Greens are going to hold a meeting. Why don't I just start with you, Sarah? What's that about?
Well, the Green Party is going to have the General Assembly, State Assembly at UCLA from 18 through 20th. So I encourage all those young people out there, especially students at UCLA, please check it out. It's going to be at the Haynes Hall at UCLA, and you can check it out at greens.org website.
Oh, great. Now tell me, you're Green in a city that isn't, well, it's Republicans and Democrats, and you do have a colleague on the council who's also a member of the Green, Kevin McKeown.
Yeah.
But you're a rare breed in all of this. What is the Green Party, and what's it like to be mayor?
Well, mayor's a riot. I'll just say, the ceremonial events where you get to just go to community events. I did a Boy Scout event. I did this Red Square dancers. I mean, you get into places that you wouldn't otherwise do, and it's really an honor to be in that position. As far as the Green Party, social justice, grassroots democracy, nonviolence, ecological wisdom are the four key ideas. We won a record 58 races in this past election in November, and one of the great things, people many times on your program said, oh, there's going to be this big backlash after the Nader campaign, and people are going to try and hurt the Greens. Our registration continues to go up, and in many races, we won these key city council races in Minneapolis and New Haven, head up against Democrats in partisan races. So what people are saying is, when you've got centrist Democrats against progressive Greens, party label on it, anyway, we're winning, and we're winning in more and more cities. We just had Greens in Davis and Apple Valley here in California from those city councils just re-register. So we're growing pretty fast, and it's feeling good.
And you're going to have a candidate for governor,
Peter Camejo. Yeah, he's going to be at the UCLA event.
Governor
Donna Warren.
And
I think one of the things looking at the governor's race is I have to say between I think Peter's appeal to the basic existing Green movement and the fact that he's going to appeal to a lot of Latinos, progressive Latinos, who also haven't maybe voted third party before. I think Davis has a hard time holding on to the seat. And one of the things that we have continued to say, and I think he's going to lose to Reardon, one of the things we continue to argue for is change the voting system to instant runoff voting, where you can rank the candidates, you rank Nader first, Gore second, your vote transfers if your first choice doesn't win, and that way you consolidate constituencies instead of divide it with our nonsense winner-take-all voting system. So, that's what we're going to learn out of this governor's race.
Well, I hope the viewer out there decides to register. If you're not registered, you have until February 19th to do it. The election will be 2 weeks after that, on March the 5th, and make the democracy work and go do it. And now, Phil,
broad appeal.
So what do you see as the future for political reporting in California? It seems like it's been on a great demise.
Right. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this year, with the primary and the election coming up, there's going to be more. But
Yeah, and the Telecom Act was such a corporate welfare giveaway in 1996 that allowed even further consolidation. I mean, it's an embarrassing situation that we have in this country to let the media be controlled by so many small
Well, I mean, here in
companies.
Los Angeles, people may not realize it, but Channel 13 and Channel 11 are owned by the same corporation.
Yeah, and at this point, I just want to thank Adelphia, you know, for letting me stay on the air and let us continue to do what we do. I want to thank Channel 36 in the city of Los Angeles that runs this program here, because without the Reguses and Adelphia backing us, I couldn't continue to do these shows. And if I didn't have the distribution wheel, be it the Adelphia system or the California channel or Channel 36 in the city, nobody would get a chance to see it. And I just want to acknowledge Beth Feinstein. Your mother is here in the audience, a great lady, and boy, if you're successful, we can thank her for that, to tell you the truth.
She's just the heart and soul of my life. She's a great mother, so she's right here with us.
Thank you very much for coming.
All right.
Come back again.
I will. Thank you.
Viewers, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.